getting near the end of December. So, pretty common for most of us just to take a look back at the business and such. What I did actually over this whole year was really just try to track, what are the recurring questions? What are the seasoned agents asking? What are the newer agents asking? And, let's talk about that a little bit, right? So we all love the top 10 list, right, that Letterman made famous. I got the top 3 list to spare some of you guys and listening to me. But the number one question from both seasoned and new agents, get ready, drum roll, I don't have the time to do it. I think that's fascinating, right? And I think most of us can relate to that statement. We've all felt, at some point or another throughout the year, just that stress. There's just not enough time in the day. And what's interesting is when you hear from a seasoned agent, there's not enough time in the day, to get after certain, it's always relative, right? So you have a seasoned agent, a one-man person who might be manning, 20 settlements a year. And then you have a new agent who is having a hard time fitting everything into their day, and they might be searching for their 6th or their 5th settlement of the year. So it's always relative, right? So number one, you want to realize that as you continue to grow, you will find efficiencies and find ways to get more done. But let's talk about that. How do we find efficiencies? How do we get more done? And I am a huge proponent of Dwight Eisenhower and the Eisenhower box. Very simple way to manage our day and manage the things that come at us every day. That 4-quadrant box, the Eisenhower box, where you have the top left quadrant is the urgent and important things. And that's where most of us spend our time, right? That's the putting out the fires that you hear. We feel good when we hit those urgent and important things. But you got to be careful, because if you only focus on that box, you're stunting your growth. Where I think you want to focus your attention, and maybe you can challenge yourself for 2021 to give yourself an hour or 2 hours or maybe 3 hours a week where you're going to focus on the top right box, which is the things that are important but not urgent. These are things like creating your marketing plan. These are things like updating your profiles on all the websites, right? I was reading a book the other day. I know, shocker that I was reading, but here you come to find out that middle-aged adults are spending approximately 2 to 3 hours a day on social media. All right, now you take that means we're losing not losing, but we're investing about 30 days. That's 1 month every year on social media. So maybe you set your goal for 2021 that you're going to spend 90 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour and a half on social media. And what you've done is you've just added an hour and a half to your productive life. And now you can focus that hour and a half on the things that are important but not urgent, because those are the system building spots. Those are really, really critical to get our business hopping. All right. And things you're going to delete for 2021, the bottom right. These are things that are not urgent and not important. And I'm sure if we all sat down and take a look at our day, there's 5 minutes here and 20 minutes here. You got to relax, right? You got to have time to decompress, but you don't want to let that bottom right quadrant take over your day. All right. So that's kind of a review of the number one question and how we answer that here at RE/MAX Ready Nation. Another thing that I found really interesting as far as the second most common question that we've received through our training and coaching programs in 2020 is how do I track what's going on, right? I'm seeing success and I don't know why. That's a very scary situation to be in as a business owner. All right. And so we talk about how we answer that really. And again, we don't want to get into a 17-page business plan because I think that can bog you down as an entrepreneur, particularly those of us that are sole practitioners, right? We haven't built out our layers yet. But what, it's talking about KPIs, which is your key performance indicators, okay? And adding some sort of simple system. Maybe that's a CRM, a customer relationship management software. Those two things, game changers. When I see somebody going from, they're kind of at that ceiling where they're no longer fearful that they're not going to make it in the industry, but they're having a hard time catapulting themselves to truly be in that rare air, that 1 to 2 to 3% top performer in the marketplace. And that delta, that difference between that agent doing well but feeling kind of not being the master of their art that they strive to be, is this systems, CRM and KPI review, key performance indicator. And in my opinion, and in our opinion here at Remax Ready, is those KPIs should focus on what creates the sale. Okay, so a lot of our agents, what they're tracking now is how many searches do they have going on in their MLS. Because generally speaking, if we set up an auto search in our MLS, at some point, that person's going to get the settlement, right? And so now what happens is when you say, all right, look, I know that if I average 8 auto searches a month in my MLS, I'm going to average 2 settlements a month. Well, now guess what? You wake up on the first of the month, you see you have 6 searches. Now your target becomes so much more specific. Your energy now for that week is spent finding a way to add 2 more searches into the MLS. Instead of waking up and going, oh man, I got to find a transaction. You know, that's a general thing. That's hard, right? That target is the more specific our targets, generally speaking, the more success we're going to see. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 on that answer is get yourself a decent CRM system. We don't need all the bells and whistles. I mean, if you're into that type of thing, go, you know, all the power. But really just a way to make sure that your database is somewhere, whether that's a spreadsheet, a loose leaf notebook, right, or some sort of automated, constant contact or top producer rather is what I was trying to think of. You know, somewhere where we're just tracking Salesforce, whatever it is, where we got all our peeps in one spot and we're reaching out to them in a consistent basis. All right. So those 2 key points will really help you break through that ceiling. And the KPI review, fascinating story on this. Actually, just the other month we were talking about this with one of the top performing agents that we sit down with. And so by analyzing the KPI, what we were able to see is that the downside in this particular agent's business was actually October through April. And what was happening was it wasn't really an average, right? To say that this agent was averaging 2 settlements a month was actually untrue, right? It was, well, not that it's untrue, I'm not a math major, but what was happening was April to October, it was like 3.5 settlements a month. And October to April, it was below 1. So by analyzing that, now we can start to push our chips into the marketing table during the April through October, right? It's not about trying to get 5 or 6 more deals in June because I'm already running around with a chicken without my head. It's about finding a way to get 1 or 2 deals in November and December and January. And again, slight focus and boom, now you've got yourself opportunity. And then the third most asked question, right, which might come as no surprise, but they're really more transactional in nature, right? And it's the art of negotiation. And I think to answer this question, it really comes down to analyzing where you are and how your office is structured, right? Because I think for most of us with negotiation, what we need is that sounding board. We have an idea. We have an approach that we like that has been successful for us in the past, right, for our clients. But every now and again, we just kind of are like, yeah, I'm not sure. And so, for example, right, let's storytelling, right? Story time with Eric here today. But let's take a quick story. So the listing agent, very common in our marketplace right now, I'm sure in yours as well. Listing agent saying, look, I'm going to present all offers on a Tuesday. You were first in on Saturday morning with your buyer. Your buyer is aware of the competitiveness of this market. Your buyer has been squeezed out 3 other times, and your buyer is ready to fire in an offer 5% over asking. Well, what if you put the deadline on the expiration of that offer on Sunday morning, right? Put the pressure on the seller and the listing agent to maybe have to make a decision prior to the deadline that they had advertised. In this particular case, multiple cases throughout the year, our clients actually ended up, these agents who deployed that strategy, they ended up getting the deal on Sunday and didn't have to wait to be in the herd with the rest of the offers on Tuesday. Now, we know that's not going to work for everyone, but the point is when you talk negotiation, it's about making sure you have somebody in your office Maybe that's your broker, maybe that's the manager, maybe it's just another agent. But by having somebody that you trust as a sounding board, I think what it does is it slows the process down a little bit. You know, our adrenaline's popping, we're excited, we're trying to get this deal done. And just by checking in with that sounding board, I think you're going to find yourself in a better position because you're going to take some of that emotion out of it, and you're going to be able to put the screws to the other side, so to speak, and get yourself, you know, and your client a better deal. So as we wrap up 2020, those are the top 3 questions